Hi, this is Maria Mandarino here today, and I'm here with Dr. Marcella Hammond from Madison, Wisconsin. And this is round two of the first recording we attempted, so hopefully technology will cooperate. Marcella is an acupuncturist and herbalist in West Madison, and she is the owner of Madison Cosmetic Acupuncture. She's here today to share her experience with the Enneagram. We've conversed about the Enneagram for a while, and she just did a couple of tests that were mistyped herself, and then she landed on her type, which we'll talk about shortly. Marcella, I'd like you to just fill in a couple of things that I might have missed in their introduction. So,
Um, so I'm acupuncturist herbalist. I recently moved into a specialty in facial and cosmetic acupuncture, but I'll still treat whatever else comes my way. Um, I have three kids,
uh-huh.
one cat, who may be interrupting, not the kids, the cat.
They do that. Okay.
um, yeah, and yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I don't remember what I said before.
I know. I'm kind of a little disjointed myself from I don't know what happened with tech here. Um, so some words that I would use to describe you: determined, resilient, smart, fierce, and curious. I think those were pretty much the words
Yeah.
I threw out before when we were talking. And it definitely a curiosity, I think, about the Enneagram. And that's kind of how we started this conversation slowly. I always do these things a little differently as we're developing them and kind of stretch into new areas. So this book has some pretty cool things in it. The Road Back to You, Ian Cron and Suzanne Stabile. Um, and before each chapter, they give qualities of each type. So first of all, tell me, Marcella, what type you identify with. Oh, are you frozen? Oh, no. Okay, we had a little tech snafu there. I think we might have a few of these. We'll see. Hopefully not. But if we do, it might be a little bumpy if you're listening. I had just asked you what Enneagram type you identify with. So where did you land?
I'm pretty much landed on 5 wing 4.
Okay,
I
okay.
used to think
So,
I was a 4 wing 5, but
uh-huh.
things were a lot different, a lot more unstable in my life at the time.
Yeah,
There was a lot
that's
of drama.
important. Yeah.
So once, now that everything's kind of steady, I
Uh-huh.
definitely identify more as a 5.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, and I didn't realize that. When our when our world is in flux, it's really hard to, and that might be because I've talked about this. I mistyped myself years ago as a one, and it was kind of a chaotic time for me. And the truth is, we have all nine
Mm-hmm.
within our Enneagram. Some are just really tougher to reach, and some are really easy to reach. So, yeah, we tend to do things that make us look like we're a different type. And then as things
Mm-hmm.
become stable, we get to be more present to ourselves, I think, and
Yeah.
understand our motivations and our
Mm-hmm.
behavior better. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you. Um, so I'm going to read off some of this list of what we have here on the road back to you about what it's like to be a five. These are some statements fives typically make. I can take care of myself, and I think others could do the same. I don't always say things out loud, but in my head, I'm pretty sarcastic and cynical. I often feel awkward around other people. I'm okay if people ask me a few specific questions about myself, but I don't like it when people want too much information. I need time alone. If I want people to know how I feel, I will tell them. I wish they wouldn't ask. I think thoughts are more reliable than feelings. I need a couple of days to process an experience or know how I feel about something. Often I find I would rather observe than participate. I trust myself. That means I think about things for a while and then I make my own decisions. I'm a listener. Um, oh, here's a good one. I get tired when I have to be with people for too long. I often felt invisible as a child. Sometimes as an adult, I choose to be invisible. So that's just some of them. So, um, did any of them scream at you?
Yeah, pretty much.
So tell
Yeah,
me.
the only thing would be with the not wanting people to know too much.
Uh-huh.
If I
Uh-huh.
feel like I'm being misunderstood, then sometimes I'll just
Interesting.
overshare and info dump,
Okay. Yeah.
but that's in specific situations. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that's like the four coming in
I
or.
think it's a little of the four, but I think it's also some of the five.
Mhm.
Because fives want to, well, being understood has to do with information.
Yeah,
So, but then
yeah,
when
for
you get
sure.
to the four piece of you want your soul to be understood,
Yeah,
that's getting to the
it's
four.
like, yeah.
So yeah, yeah. All right. So I don't really know where I want to start, but I'm curious. My five nature is curious about why cosmetic acupuncture. What in your Enneagram type do you think is in there?
Um, some of it's just practicality and trying to look at things from a business perspective. Nobody
Uh-huh.
else in town is specializing in that. And
Yeah.
since I kind of moved to town for my now ex-husband's now ex job, I
Uh-huh.
had no friends or family around here anywhere
Yeah.
nearby. You
Wow.
know,
Wow.
they're everywhere else but here.
Yeah.
And then the kids were little, so I
Yeah.
wasn't getting out and doing stuff, meeting people. And I'm
Right.
still, after 10 years, trying to build a community,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to get that word of mouth
Yeah.
um, traffic that I would otherwise,
Mhm. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
having people that I know who have been treated by me
Uh-huh.
in the past. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But then there's
practicality.
also, practicality. Like I
Uh-huh.
wanted to know that stuff for my own self.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. So practicality. I'm just making some notes here. And knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really cool, and we've talked about this before, that you named your practice Madison Cosmetic Acupuncture. Um, and I recently renamed my practice to West Valley Acupuncture and Myofascial Release. I've been practicing myofascial release for 23 years. I'm kind of an expert. I take that in stride. Like, yeah, I do myofascial, and I finally figured out I need to say I'm an expert. And I think
Yeah.
you kind of did the same thing with cosmetic
Mm-hmm.
acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess here's a question, because for me, it's hard to say I'm an expert. Is it hard for you to say you're an expert at something?
Yeah, a lot of the time, because I always feel like I don't know enough, and there's other people who know more than I
Yeah,
do, and I want to take more courses, read more books.
yeah.
And one of
Yeah.
my meditation buddies, knows me well enough at this point, and she's like the opposite. She's more like, I've started 5 businesses in my life. Was I ready? No, I just jumped in and did it.
Yeah.
Were they successful? No.
Yeah.
She's like, you know enough. Just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Started.
What got you there to the point where like what was that moment like where you decided I'm going to name this business Madison Cosmetic Acupuncture? Was there a
Um, it was kind of when I started the FACE program,
uh-huh.
because I knew at that point, once I was done with that program, nobody else in town has done it. So
Yeah.
that by default makes me the expert.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
also, so once I started the program and I was talking to somebody else in the group who said she was considering moving to Madison, I was like,
uh,
oh, I better lock that name down now.
practicality. Good, good. So, the knowledge piece, the FACES program. So first of all, I think it's important for you to distinguish what that is. because we
Yeah.
both do
Mhm.
cosmetic acupuncture, but you
Mhm.
have a whole other realm of what you bring to the table. So speak to that and that acquisition of knowledge and what was involved for you. And
Well, as far as I know, previously the only real cosmetic acupuncture training was in like one-off
uh-huh, yeah,
seminars, like Michelle
yeah,
Gellis's,
right,
which I really want to do still, but
uh-huh, yeah,
and the Mazen
uh-huh,
trainings.
yeah,
And this is the first one, to my knowledge, at least in the US, that
uh-huh,
is an actual structured educational program,
right.
certificate program. It's 2 semesters long. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So, and I really, and once I found out that financial aid was available and it was at a time where I was like, oh, I could use some student loans to help pay the
Yeah,
bills right now.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just
And that
seemed like
was
the right
during the
time.
COVID time that you did this or
No, it
after?
was
It
just
was,
recently.
oh,
I
okay.
just finished it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
But
Wow.
yeah, when I registered, I happened to be working out of a spa and it just seemed like
Yeah.
perfect
Uh-huh.
timing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So, I'm assuming the program is balanced between Western and Eastern, I would imagine. I don't know much about the program. So,
Yeah.
okay. So
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got the
There's a lot of
structural,
talk about the structural
uh-huh.
stuff, the review of the cranial nerves that we all had to,
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
learn in
Yeah.
acupuncture
Yeah.
school and the
You had to learn them
muscles
all over
and
again. Yeah.
review it all over
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And the
Cool.
layers of the skin, all that good
Yeah.
stuff that we learned way back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
nice to bring it all together.
Mhm. And
So
then,
what's
yeah, Shelley, the primary teacher in the
uh-huh.
program,
Yeah.
um, after she opened her practice, she also got her esthetician license. So she
Oh
kind of
wow.
brings all that knowledge piece
Oh
in as well.
nice. I didn't
So it
know
was cool
she
to learn a
yeah.
lot of different um, adjunctive techniques
Yeah. Yeah.
to bring into a
To
treatment.
put
So
it
it's
all
not just
together.
needles. They can get the
Yeah.
microcurrent and, all the gua
Yeah.
sha and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay. So what's it feel like now that you've declared the name? Um, are you comfortable calling yourself an expert? How does it feel when somebody says it to you?
Uh, it's good, but there's always a part of me that's like, no, I don't know enough yet. No. I actually did, after I completed the program, actually looked into the local beauty college at their aesthetics program
Oh
because I was like,
wow.
oh, maybe I would feel more comfortable if I had that piece too. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. That's
apparently
real
I'm at my
five-ish.
limit for student loans, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't give it to me.
That's definitely five-ish. So, how does the four express itself for you, the wing?
uh, Now I have to remind myself what the fours are.
Well, the
I mean, I
deep
come from a theater
connecting.
background
Yeah,
and
okay. That's it.
a very, I don't know if fantasy life is the right term, but like I
Okay.
can easily get lost in a great book and accidentally stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning reading.
Yep, yep. The five's in that too. But
Yeah.
so what kind of book? I think that would speak to the four. What would keep you up?
Lately, well, usually I have one fiction and one nonfiction going at a time. The fiction is more like increasing my knowledge and personal development kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what I'll read like on my lunch break.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
then when I go to bed at night, I want to curl up with a story.
Uh-huh.
And so lately
Yeah.
it's been more fantasy kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah, there's your four for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we discussed before we started recording that you took a couple of online tests
Mhm.
and mistyped, so that the test mistyped you as both a one and then also as an eight.
Mhm.
And you were immediately like, yeah, yeah, I'm not, no, I'm not that. Um, so you said, the one and the perfectionist was
Mhm.
kind of what you had isolated. Um, explain how your five experiences the vibe of perfectionism.
Well, I think it was much more prevalent before I was a mom
Uh,
because especially now that I'm a single mom,
yeah.
things have to be allowed to slide.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
The house is never going to be as clean as I want it.
Uh-huh.
The kids are. good about helping when I tell them to help. Or if I walk by and say, dude, don't just throw your trash on the floor, pick it up. Okay. And then they'll do it. Or if
Mm.
I'm like, time to clean up the living room, they'll just get up and do it. But
Uh-huh.
they're also coming home from school and walking around with snacks and just dropping crumbs everywhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So so
And also with
fives,
I think, I'm sorry, going back to the one, because that's what
uh-huh.
you were asking.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was younger, I was definitely more perfectionist in school. And then
Okay.
now that I'm an adult, I remember even with when we were finishing up the FACE program and everyone was stressing in the WhatsApp group about our presentations,
Uh-huh.
I was like, done is better than perfect.
Isn't
Because
that awesome when you can
yeah,
get there?
we know what we know. We've
Yeah.
done our case studies. We've proven ourselves. Who cares if the PowerPoint doesn't
Hmm.
look perfect?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a feature of two things. I think that's the development of your type for sure. Um, and I think it's age.
Yeah.
And in your case being a mom. There's just and it gets to that practicality of the five too, where it's like all of a sudden you can kind of let go of that nervousness of
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I bring, and you still feel that, or you hear that voice, which is very different from the one's inner critic. The
Mhm.
fives, we all have an inner critic, by the way. There's
Yeah.
9 kinds of inner critics. But the one has the one that's on speakerphone, or megaphone, I should say. But the five speakerphone, megaphone or inner critic, sorry, is more kind of what you've discussed. I could probably know more. There's probably a book I didn't read. There's probably an
Yeah.
article I missed. It's kind of like that.
A teacher I haven't worked with yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or I just haven't put in enough hours with that teacher, or that
Mhm.
teacher is still the teacher, so I can't ever be,
Yeah.
um, you know. But what's different about the one is it's about being good or right.
Mhm.
And fives really don't give a crap about being good or right. They just
Yeah.
want to make sure they've got the information straight. They don't want to
Yeah.
be caught in having partial information or wrong information. And
Mhm.
that's where the shame kicks in for a five. And it's very different for a
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And I think that, like, to what you said about age, when I was younger, I was very much caught up in wanting to be a good girl, be the perfect student. My
Hmm.
teachers loved me.
Hmm.
Um, and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, wait, I actually know more about this than you do. So I don't really
So
care what you have to say about it.
I have a question about the theater. Did you do theater when you were younger?
More in undergrad.
Okay. Okay.
When I was younger, I was way too shy,
Too
and the
shy?
theater kids in school were very annoying to me.
Yeah, right.
And then when I was a young adult, I started watching like Inside the Actors Studio and
Oh God,
realizing
yeah.
that so many great actors aren't like those annoying theater kids who were just wanting
Yeah.
to show off. It was
Yep.
more about
Depth.
introspection and character
Yeah.
study. And I'm like, oh, that I can get on board
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
I
funny.
think that led to acupuncture and wanting to peel back the
Ah,
layers and see what is the root cause, what's really going on under the surface.
wow. Interesting. That's really interesting because that Inside the Actors Studio is one of my favorite shows of
Mhm.
all time. So, and I never thought of that as kind of being a reflection of acupuncture and root cause, but I could
Mhm.
totally see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So in the mistyping, we talked about the one, and then the other one was you were mistyped as an eight. And when you had shared this before, you're like, oh no, I'm not there. Well, fives have a relationship to eight. And it happens to be, we all have our type biases. It happens to be my favorite thing about being a five, is having access to what we call the security line. It's the straight line that goes from 5 to 8 across the Enneagram. And it's how we behave when we want to achieve something. When we see a goal and we just kind of like, okay, that's the thing. We no longer look like a five so much as we start to look like a very healthy eight. So when your first reaction was like, oh no, I'm not an eight. Tell me Tell me what was under that feeling.
It's hard to say because now I can't off the top of my head remember what an eight is. I don't know
Okay.
enough about the other.
Okay.
Um, isn't seven is the one that's like the party all the
Yeah,
time?
and that's in the
Yeah, I'm
five too. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you have access to
Yeah, I
that
don't
too.
remember. And then the six
Yeah.
is more like the scared, working from a place of fear, kind of
Yeah.
kidney type.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. So I don't
So,
really remember
okay. The
eight
the
as
eight
well.
is more yang, the most active of the nine types on the Enneagram. They're a body type. They're very, physically driven. They have to use their body to deal with things in life. They are, as we associate them with leadership and strength and courage. Um, what else can I say about the eight? Let's see. Come up with something that Ian has here. Um, In their lower expression, we think of them as the destroyer, and I think that's where the eight gets a bad rap because if we're ever around an unhealthy eight, that's what we tend to remember. I have this I have the eight in this book. I think it's in the beginning. Yes. Um, the challenger, the leader is another name we use for the eight. Um, So yeah, healthy eights, great friends, exceptional leaders, champions of those who cannot fight on their own behalf. So they're great taking care of the underdog. They have the intelligence, courage, and stamina to do what others say can't be done. An average eight tends to be a steamroller more than a diplomat. They're dualistic thinkers, so people are either good or bad. Unhealthy eights are preoccupied with the idea that they are going to be betrayed. They're suspicious and slow to trust others, and they can turn to revenge when they feel wrong. So, very intense type. But so here's the thing about the security line. We go to the higher side of, so it's more of that courageous eight, the bold eight, the person who will protect the underdog, stand on the side of social justice causes, that type of behavior. But they're also very direct. I We do supervision groups in spiritual direction, and I was in a supervision group with an Enneagram 8 that I totally related to. She was actually an Episcopal priest, and I do this when I'm like, if I write an email, like there's a goal. I have to write the email. I need the thing that I'm sending the email for. So, and she's the same way as an eight. She writes the email asking for the thing.
Mhm.
And somebody somebody at her church said, you really should first, before you send that email, say, "Hi, how are you? I hope all is well." Like I don't do that. And she got me
Yeah.
to stop that so that I actually kind of frame my emails so that I don't just sound like I need this. So I don't know if that speaks to you when you're looking for a goal, or if there's something that
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so
I wanted to
that's
just be clear, and
yeah.
especially working with people in the past who were very, very scattered
Uh-huh.
and learning that, especially if they were going to drop the ball and then start gaslighting everyone, saying, like, no, you were supposed to do that. No, we're going to keep
Mhm.
all of our communications in writing now. And I need to be clear and direct.
Yep, yep. We give it structure and framework, and that's the eight. That's yeah. And here's the other thing about an eight is if they're around, they're perfectly fine with other people being in leadership. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks they want to be in charge. They really don't. But if they see that leader being inadequate or kind of screwing around, they'll just
Mhm.
take the job over. They won't even ask. They just,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
kind of
I've
like
done
what you
that.
did. We're going to have structure. We're going to do this. We're going to so, and it creates safety. That's why, because eights
Yeah.
ultimately want to be safe and not be vulnerable. So, yeah, so I think it's kind of cool that you mistyped as an eight because you were probably, when you took the test, you were probably more in a goal-oriented state for whatever reason. And your eight was being expressed. So it's kind of interesting. So there's also a line to seven that fives have. That's the epicure, the adventurer, the person that will, open up 10 businesses, and not be afraid of any of that. They like to have experiences. They don't like to be limited or feel trapped or restricted in any way. And that's where a five will go when they're stressed. They start to look like a seven. So sevens, in their higher expression, they're very joyful. They put people together. They make fantastic guidance counselors. They're great networkers in the best sense of that word. Um, Very positive people. When they start to deteriorate, um, they get very chaotic, um, unreliable. They're the person that, decides they'll make a date to be at a party, a major, like a family party, and then they don't show and they don't call. So it's an unhealthy seven. But in my experience, when fives start to look like an unhealthy seven, um, it's one of the ways that it can be, because I don't want to sound too biased about this, but one of my experiences. Um, I will collect way too many books. I mean, I already collect way too many books, but what happens is
There's no such thing.
my goal is to have more books than I have read by the time I'm dead. It's just, as long as the shelves are full, we're good. But when a five is stressed, what they'll do is they'll either buy more or they'll yank every book off the shelf on like three or four different topics at the same time, and they'll be reading all of them. And that's how I know, like when my little end table in the living room starts to have like more than three piled up, I'm like, Maria's got a problem right now. We got to look at what's going on.
Yes,
So, so I don't know if that's, one of the,
yeah,
seven-ish things that you do when you're
I
stressed.
do. When I'm doing a deep dive on a topic and start requesting a ton of books from the library about it,
Uh-huh.
and then they all come in at once, because sometimes it'll be like, oh, I'm like number 80 on the list for this one, number 50 for this one. This one I
Yeah.
can get right away. So I
Yeah.
just go ahead and request them all so that
Yeah.
I'll have a steady supply. And then boom, they're all in. I'm like, okay, now I've got 20 books on the
Yeah.
nightstand.
What does it do to you? How does it?
Well, then I feel all stressed out, like I have to finish them
Yeah.
because there's a
Yeah.
due date.
Yeah. That's how the five looks like a one. That right there is exactly that's
Yeah.
how that maps out. Yeah. I have to. I have to learn. I have to
Yeah.
understand. I have to
And
get
now
all of
there's a
the
deadline.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that kind of gets to the next thing that's on my mind is decompressing. Because if fives don't decompress, they really start to go down that's unhealthy seven path. And life is what life is, right? On a good day we all have bad moments, right? And I think life right now is, I always hate to say this, it's kind of like high velocity, and every time I say that I kind of think, well, but it's high velocity now, so it'll kind of, every time I say that it kind of
I
goes worse.
know.
So it's just where we're at, right? Where we're at on the
Yeah.
planet. And as acupuncturists we have different knowledge and different tools, right? And it's still hard.
Mhm.
And so how high on the list is alone time, quiet time, decompression
Oh,
time?
that's high.
Yeah.
I I am not a nice person if I don't have quiet alone time.
How much do you need?
That's more the better, honestly. Like, it's so much easier now that the kids are older
Yeah.
because they're not all up in my business. They're still my
Yeah.
favorite people, hands
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
I love spending time with them. But
Yeah.
my oldest especially is, I haven't typed him. I don't know if he's a five, but we're both very introverted.
Uh-huh.
And when he comes home from school after a long day, he goes straight to, well, he'll go to
Oh
his room,
wow.
drop his stuff off, come out, make a snack, like make a sandwich or something. And he needs that quiet time in his room. And I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Like,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if I'm coming home and it's like time to like get dinner started first, I'm going to go in my
Yeah.
room.
Yep.
I usually bring my clinic laundry home. I have black sheets, black scrubs, throw
Uh-huh.
that in the laundry, get in
Yep.
my comfy clothes,
Yeah.
and then just like, I need a minute
Yep.
before I go out and
Yep.
start making dinner.
Yep. The sacred 5 minutes sometimes can be,
Yeah.
it can really make the
Or
difference.
a walk out by myself,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
hour to, walk the
Yeah.
neighborhood and
Yeah.
listen to music or listen to a podcast and just
Yep.
look at all the different shades of green.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep. That's definitely five. So with kids, we can't really type them, or the whole thing doesn't really
Mm.
happen until the frontal lobe is fully formed. But
Yeah.
it's setting up because it sets up from the moment of birth
Yeah.
when we
And
look
he's
at
been
our
like that
for his whole life. Yeah.
pretty much his whole life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even as a toddler, he would go play quietly
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I was totally that kid before. I
Or
mean, I didn't
yeah.
know anything about the Enneagram, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like I had to go to my room first, put away my books, stack them
Mm-hmm.
up, set up my homework, even if I wasn't going to do it right away. I had to have like, there
Yeah.
was things had to be formatted and I needed that quiet time. And still
Mm-hmm.
when I was married, oh my God, I was married to the guy who could not live and breathe in the house if the TV wasn't blasting. So I would come home from work to like a technological assault as far as I was concerned. And I couldn't stand that. Like, just give me 5 minutes of nothing screaming at me. And it makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Every time I think, oh, maybe it would be nice to be in a relationship again someday. Then I remember that I don't know if you've seen it, that Carol Burnett interview when somebody asked her, like, would do you ever see yourself getting married again? She was like, well, here's what I've learned being single. I like to read when I want to read,
Yeah.
eat when I want to eat,
Hmm.
watch what I want to watch on the TV when I feel like it.
Yep.
And so if I had another husband, he would just have to live
Live in
somewhere
another
else.
house. Makes total sense. Actually, you know who does that? I don't know if he's still on this side of the earth, but Robert Parker, who wrote the Spencer for Hire,
Oh,
I think he might have passed.
hmm.
The Spencer for Hire series. He lived in one house and his wife lived around the block.
Yeah,
And they had a great marriage.
Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton
Oh, wow,
bought
really?
adjoining townhouses.
Oh,
So the kids, and there's like a door between, so the kids can
yeah,
go back and forth freely.
yeah,
And
perfect.
no, that he's got his space, she's got her space.
I wonder what types they are. That's funny. Um, so where else do I want to go with this? Privacy. So that's a tough one for a mom, I think, because that's important to
Yeah,
fives.
yeah. For really, honestly, my youngest kept sleeping in my bed until he was 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
And then I made him clean the middle bedroom that he and
Uh-huh.
the middle child
Uh-huh.
technically share together. But youngest was still sleeping with me. The middle child decided he prefers the living room. And because he didn't want to share bunk beds with his little brother. And so I'm like, okay, so this is an expensive closet. You're using it to store your clothes. But then I made him clean it up because my mom was going to be coming to town and
Uh-huh.
needed a place to stay. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this room is gross.
Yeah.
You guys are going to clean it.
Yeah.
And then once he did, he was like, oh, I didn't know the top bunk had a memory foam mattress. I'm going to sleep in here now.
Oh gosh. So, how do you deal with intrusions? I don't know if this speaks to you ever in the context of practice. It does for me. Um, we're there for patients and, the power imbalance is with us, right? Because it's that outward flow of information and treatment. And sometimes I know I'll get patients who cross that line or try to cross that line. And before I knew the Enneagram, which was when I started practicing, I didn't know the Enneagram. It would really get my back up when patients did that. And then colleagues were like, yeah, so what?
Hmm.
So I don't know if you experience it ever in practice or anywhere else, but if people are intrusive, and because you have the four, so I have a six wing, you have a four wing, four might
Mhm.
experience this very differently. So what can you share there about intrusions?
I haven't really had that too much with patients. And I wonder if it's because of my theater background.
Oh,
Because once I graduated, my first job out of undergrad was as a dresser for the original production of Jersey Boys
oh wow,
at the
cool.
La Jolla Playhouse. And I just kept getting hired. And then I worked also at the Old Globe. And I generally ended up dressing the male ensemble because that was the most difficult track.
Uh-huh.
The most people, the most costume changes, the most individual pieces to track.
Wow.
And I could keep track of all that. But so for a few years there, I was essentially hanging out in like a locker room full,
Uh-huh.
guys. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes they'd flirt, whatever. But, you know, I guess I just perfected that vibe of like, yeah, we're not going there, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and they would just treat me as a professional. Whereas some of
Uh-huh.
the other dressers were always like, we'd have to have meetings with HR because guys were getting creepy, and
Yeah.
they'd be fine with me
I
because
don't
I
know if I
just,
mean
no, I
that
just like
type
laugh it
of,
off and shut it down.
yeah. I think that's probably your eight speaking up because I would do that too.
Yeah, maybe.
But not so much in that type of a situation, but people that just like ask questions that are like not your business. And not anything that, necessarily like I mean intrusive, but not sexually intrusive. Just like personal. Does
Yeah,
that bug you?
I haven't really gotten that. It's mostly like sweet old ladies asking about the kids because they're
Uh-huh.
their own are grown, or
Yeah.
they don't see their grandkids as much,
Yeah.
but nothing really
Yeah. What about in
too
other
pushy.
settings? Does it bother you if people ask you personal things?
I never go in other settings.
You have the life I envy.
I'm trying to actually force myself to get out there and
Yeah.
meet people in the community, but
Yeah.
partly to grow my practice and get
Yeah.
word out, but also, it sucks when it's time for your first colonoscopy and there's nobody to give you a
To drive
ride.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a real five experience because fives do like to live in the bubble. I mean,
yeah,
like other people, like really like a four doesn't want it. Like the bubble is painful unless they're in this state of like, nobody can understand me. Well, hell, I better stay in my bubble and just like go into the,
yeah,
into the ground. But, um, but fives can be so happily functional in the bubble for so many years that they
yeah.
can get to a point in life where they look back on a life and realize that they are isolated. And there's a
Hmm.
difference between enjoying your alone time and
Hmm.
realizing you're being isolated, so
Yeah.
that you've been isolated. Um, so I think it's
And
really
definitely, I
good.
think the pandemic played into that
Yes.
because it hit the year that my youngest was finally starting full day kindergarten. I
Oh,
finally had a
wow.
car after several years without. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, now I can start my practice and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
out in the community. And then, nope, you're going to stay home for another three
Right.
years.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That was um That was a really interesting time as a five. That's when I did most of my Enneagram training. I had started it
Yeah.
before and didn't think I was ever going to pursue it.
That's
And
when I did the rapid transformational therapy training, which I've
uh,
never actually used professionally, but
uh-huh. Yeah.
it's another way of peeling back the layers,
Yeah.
getting to
Yeah.
the root cause.
Yeah. And it was something practical, again, to use your word, practical to do with the time.
Mm-hmm.
Time,
Yeah.
time is it's a commodity for a
Mm-hmm.
five. I mean, we love our time. And we love making use of our time. And if we can make use of our time doing intellectual things, well, hell, it don't get much better.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Some
but
people were like really freaked out having to stay home. I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't have
yeah,
to leave. I can just do curbside pickup at the library. And
yep, yep. And then, like I said, we get to a point where that becomes not just easy, but almost celebrated. Like
Mhm.
I can feel sorry for people. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I can feel sorry for people who can't do that.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's like painful. You can't be alone. Like I could teach you. It's not hard. It's good. It's good for you.
Yes.
Because I pain over like how could somebody not want stillness at some point in their life,
Mhm.
right? But the extreme of that with a five is they can put themselves into um such a place of, living in that bubble for so long that they end up in isolation. So being aware of that, I think, is good.
Mhm.
And being aware of, I'm going to try to put myself out in the community, even if it's for a reason of developing the business, whatever the reason
Mhm.
is, forcing yourself to
Yeah.
do the uncomfortable thing and stretch. My guess is, well, what does that look like when you get out? How do you do it?
Oh, it's about 50-50 whether I actually get out to do the things that I signed up for. Sometimes it's like, oh, I have to help my kid with his homework. Oh, guess I'm not going on that walk, the community walk. Yeah. Like I went to a meditation class, a free meditation class at the
Okay.
library,
Uh-huh.
but we're sitting and meditating, not
Right.
talking.
Stillness. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And then I had signed up for another library event that was a lecture on local dragonflies, followed by a walk around the pond across the street.
Oh, that sounds
And that
nice.
one I was really looking forward to,
Yeah.
but it was the first day of middle school for my youngest.
Uh-huh.
And I went to go meet him at the bus stop, and he wasn't paying attention and didn't get off the bus. So I started running down the street after the bus. And I didn't know the route. They don't publish the full route
Oh,
on the website
geez.
anymore, just where
Oh my God.
they're supposed to get off. So I'm like, oh crap, crap, crap. So I
Oh,
ran inside
geez.
because I didn't have my phone with me. So I ran inside to call the school. Nobody was picking up at the school anymore. So I didn't know what to do. I'm like freaking out, freaking out, freaking out. And then he walks in. He's like, oh yeah, uh, I forgot to get off the bus. So the driver circled back after the rest of the kids. But he's like totally, that kid is the most blase, like he just floats through life like nothing, everything's water off a duck's back with him. One day when he first started going back to in-person school after the pandemic, they kind of
Uh-huh.
staggered the reentry
Uh-huh.
with the
Yeah.
youngest kids first.
Yeah.
And so he was the first back. And one day he missed his bus in the morning. So he just got on a different bus. And I was like, what
Oh
the,
my God.
what the, what? He's like, yeah, the driver, another bus driver saw me standing there. So he just asked me if I wanted to ride.
Oh wow.
Okay, if that ever happens again, just come back
Yeah.
inside and tell me so I can give you a ride.
Sounds like a seven in the making. The
When he was
adventurer.
little, I used to joke that he could be a gigolo in the making because he's like cute and charming, and yeah, he can flirt his way. When he was little, he would just come and lay his head on my shoulder and bat his eyes up and be like, Mommy, I just really, really need an apple right now because I love you so much. Yeah,
Oh
go ahead
gosh.
and get an apple, you manipulative little shit.
Oh gosh. So when you put yourself out there, and I would assume, takes energy, right? Well, there's two pieces to this question. One is after you put yourself out there, what's it like? What do you do? But if you put yourself out there, would you ever put yourself out there as like a teacher, like in the community to do like presentations about what you do, acupuncture? Like,
Um,
would that ever happen?
Possibly. I mean, I did teach at the local massage school for a couple semesters. That was the one with the coworker I had to put everything in writing with and be very
Uh-huh.
direct because
Yeah.
she's one of those people who has to process their thinking out loud,
Uh-huh.
and it's very ADHD. And I'd just be standing like, can you just process this and then get back to me? I got stuff to
With an
do.
outline.
Yes, but it wasn't the teaching that I hated. It was the
The
environment.
organizational stuff. Yeah.
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 So,
So then after you are out doing something, social,
mhm.
what has to happen next? How do you
Oh, I definitely need downtime. Lots and lots. And the more that it's putting myself out there, like with a group of strangers or something,
yeah, yeah.
that's it for the week for me. Yeah.
What about like after you talk to people in your home? Does the conversation continue in your head and then you wish there were things that you thought of after that you wished you had thought of in the moment? Does that?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
it depends on how deep the conversation is.
Yeah. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's typically that's a five thing, and I think that plays into the need to just have that quiet time after being out,
Hmm.
because there's still that because we're head types, right? So we
Hmm.
we live in our heads.
Yeah.
So in my joke, I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but I joke that fives don't have hearts, or this five doesn't have a heart. I should qualify that, which is not true. But five has access to the seven, which is a head type, and to the eight, which is a body type. but we don't have immediate access to the 2, 3, or 4. Now you do, because you have the 4 wings. So for you, this is really not true. But is it harder? Like how easy is it for you to get into your heart as a 5 with a 4 wing?
I feel like I do feel like I'm very empathetic.
Mm.
I can pick up on other people's emotions right away, usually.
Then what happens? What happens to you in that process?
It's more like a vibe. So
Uh-huh.
if somebody comes in and they're very agitated, I
Uh-huh.
feel it right away. I don't, and then I'll start asking,
Uh-huh.
but I have to catch myself so I'm not too direct because I
Yeah.
don't be like, what's wrong?
Yeah, but you kind of do want to cut to the chase, but you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Cut
that's
to
the
the chase,
4.
but in a gentle way.
Yeah, that's the 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how moved are you by art?
I can be pretty moved.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, can you give me an example or
Let's say like just getting lost in a really amazing, beautiful piece of music or something and just feeling the emotions of the music
mm,
wash over me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What about coming
Or
from
like I said, getting lost in a really great story.
yeah, yeah. What about given your theater background? What's it like when a show ends? Is that hard?
Depends on the show. A really fun one where great connections were made, like Jersey
Uh-huh.
Boys was, because we
Yeah.
extended a few times.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm still in touch with some of those people.
Yeah.
Uh, that
Yeah.
one was more difficult, but then there were some that were just like awful, and there'd be like one toxic person, and everybody couldn't wait to get away from them. I'm like, need more performances.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you with watching like kids recitals? Not so much.
I mean, it depends. Like,
Yeah.
none of my kids really got into anything
Uh-huh.
that required, like,
Yeah,
I took
see.
piano lessons and
Uh-huh.
cello.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I go to the regular school performances.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
hearing a
don't
bunch of elementary kids sing
yeah.
Celebration by Kool and the Gang or selections from Hamilton. It's
Oh,
cute,
yeah. That's the
even if
one
it's all
thing.
off key.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's the one thing with me where I was like for years, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm a 4 because I am drawn to the arts. And I do, and not to the degree that you were involved with theater, but I kind of played in there high school and college years. And it was my happy place.
Mhm.
And I can be moved at a kid's recital. I mean, I'll be in tears.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I'm a 4 wing. I'm like, no, but like I overthink everything and I plan everything. I'm definitely a 6 wing, but it's funny how it's like if I'm going to do a 4 thing, that's usually what it's going to look like a kid's recital. So,
It's funny. When I was researching types, just to be sure,
uh-huh,
what one of the things I found on YouTube, I think this was last night,
uh-huh,
and I was going in and out of the room, so I probably want to. He was kind of hard to follow, like just
mhm,
not the most engaging presenter.
uh-huh,
Um, but he was talking about specifically about fives and how to play into the strong sides of the 4 and the 6 as a
mm,
5.
nice, nice, because that's
I
what I
never thought of,
believe.
I always thought it was one or the other that
That's what
was,
they teach. And I
yeah.
don't I don't think like that's even true with the high and the low of like the lines. Like they say we're supposed to like in the 5's case you go to an 8 um when you want to achieve a goal. But I think if somebody's an unhealthy 5, I think they can also look like an unhealthy 8.
Mhm.
Like I mean, I get the concepts of it's easier to go to the high 8, but I think it could go both ways. And I think you can also go to a healthy 7. It takes
Mhm.
more energy, it takes more work, it takes more self-awareness. And I think the same thing with the wings. We can make a decision. We're going to tip in one way more
Mhm.
easier, but when we're mindful about, and more self-aware through the
Yeah.
Enneagram, We have the Enneagram gives us choices. It does not limit us. It gives us choices.
Yeah, and this was
And
his whole thing. Like, if this is if you're five and you're in this kind of situation, this is what you could pull from a healthy four. This is what
yep,
you could pull in from a healthy six,
yep,
because you have access to that.
yep. I agree with that. I really do. And that's really not how I was taught. And that's kind of why I kind of cut my own road with this and
Mhm.
even adding in other things like the astrology. So I'm a little out of the box with it. I'm not an Enneagram purist. I love the
Mhm.
Enneagram. But I think there's always ways to stretch and grow with it. And it's to me it's
Yeah.
a tool, to
Mhm.
help us learn more about ourselves so we can form better relationships with ourselves and others. So so yeah. Um, what do you know with every piece of conviction within you to be true as a five that you would want to share with other fives?
Mhm. You're never going to know enough. I know. I keep having to remind myself of that, or I need friends to remind me, like, no, you don't need another course. Just do it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
You know
okay.
enough.
It's okay not to know enough. Exactly. Yeah, you do know enough. Okay. Um, so tell us a little bit more about where people can find you, your website, whatever. Do you have anything coming up? Any special things that you want to share?
Nothing special coming up. I'm at drmarcellahammond.com.
Okay.
Easy to find. It's
Okay.
Dr. Dr.
Okay.
Not spelled out.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And Instagram at dr.marcella.hammond.
Okay.
I don't post there very consistently, but
Yeah. Yeah.
on there. Yeah.
Why should people get cosmetic acupuncture?
So that they can age well and still look like themselves and glow from the inside out,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of just masking it all and getting the toxin, the fillers, and looking like everybody else.
Hmm.
Like, I want to look like me, but a good me, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
don't want to look like a real housewife.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and the joy that, treating the Shen because we treat the spirit, right?
Yeah.
And get rid of those other things like allergies and menstrual cramps and those things that nobody needs.
Yeah. And
So,
my thing is, over the past few years, especially, um, realizing how much so many women, especially once they're married, divorced, have kids, we spend so much time pouring out for everyone else
yeah,
and not getting anything in return.
yeah,
Nobody's filling our cups.
yeah,
And then what do we do when we're feeling run down and haggard? Go get our hair done, get our nails done, something to feel like,
yeah,
or at least look better.
yeah.
But if that's not addressing the deeper issues,
The deeper
whereas with
problem.
cosmetic
Yeah,
acupuncture, you can get the pampering, but also be treating body, mind, spirit,
yeah,
and all the aches and pains,
yeah,
get some better sleep,
yeah.
calm the anxiety, let
Mhm.
somebody take care of you for a
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah. And for me, the Botox is never going to, for the people that don't know anything about acupuncture, we say the Shen is seen in the eyes, the spirit is seen in the
Mhm.
eyes. And that's the one thing with cosmetic acupuncture, one treatment, you see it. You see the
Yeah.
fire in the eyes come back. You
Hmm.
just see the light turn on. And there's no amount of Botox, ladies and gentlemen, that will give you that. So if you were in the Madison area, go see Marcella. Um, Enneagram 5, Wing 4. So, Marcella, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here and taking your time today. Thank you. Okay. All righty. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.